Hey everybody, what's going on, Nabil?
What up? Way better mood compared to last debate.
Oh man, yeah, I can't believe you watched that. I just followed along on Twitter while I watched Netflix.
Sometimes that's the best you can do. Did you see the fly on Pence's head?
I think that's the only thing I saw.
Literally. Does he also? Okay, wait, hold on.
That's
Okay,
pretty. It was.
we're going to
They,
football after this, but I need to say one thing. Does Pence not look like what we would all do when we wanted to be old and we sprayed our hair with like the spray paint hair color thing?
not all of
It's
us in the
ridiculous.
league
Take a
have
look at it.
hair. Yeah,
Okay.
the ones
Touche.
who
Back in the
do have
day.
hair. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I saw the fly. I saw that. I mean, I already know who I'm voting for, which is why I don't need to watch the debate. I'll see the highlights or the lowlights on Twitter later
Amen.
or during. Um, yeah, yeah. It's what a week for football. I mean, obviously. So was that yesterday morning that I woke up and texted the group like, hey, like there's three different potential outbreaks that you have to worry about. Was that yesterday?
Yeah. No, it was this morning.
It was
You
this
woke
morning.
up. Yeah, and it was a
Man,
6:30 text, which good for you for actually getting out of bed.
hey,
Um, but
gotta.
yeah, I mean, what a not okay. Not only was there the COVID scares are starting to come in, and I know that this
Mhm.
is a topic that you want to get to, so I'll kind of let
Yep.
you roll
Yeah, go ahead.
into it. But another week of injuries, and maybe I'm bitter because I definitely lost because of at least one.
Mhm.
There's like rumor that Kenyon Drake had the wind knocked out of him or had a pretty hard chest hit like
Yeah.
towards the end of the game that kind of affected him. I don't know. I'm not going to play that guy until I see something. So if you're going against me, you're not seeing Drake in the lineup until I see something that's consistent. But there's a whole bunch of injuries that are just lingering, and lucky for Drew for I think he didn't even pick up McCall Hardman right away. I think he picked up Shepard or whatever for Green Bay, and then he
I
swapped
think
in
so.
McCall Hardman, and good choice for him. Um,
It worked out.
I lost because of it, but like everyone, keep your eye on the waiver wires, keep your eye on your players, because at this point you don't even need to be notified ahead of time. It can be there's it seems like almost everything is game time decision. I got burned by that with Fuller before. So
Yeah, no, and I mean, even like, I'm finally getting, Deontay Johnson back, and it's like, oh, but he's, he because of the concussion and the bye week that came out of nowhere, and then now, oh, but he still has a lingering toe injury, like even something like that, which like that happens, but like, uh, just the massive amount of injuries this year, unfortunately, like I said before, like I think the owners are going to argue as a reason to keep the preseason games
yeah.
in there, like, and that's a bummer because I mean, I don't want to see the Super Bowl go later into February. And I don't think they'd want to move this NFL season up earlier than Labor Day weekend. So we're just going to be looking at a really, really long NFL season if they do ever add that 17th or eventually 18th regular season game, because I don't see preseason going anywhere long term.
I really want them, and this is a COVID year, so that's probably why they didn't do this. I'm like also totally okay with them just doing their joint practices and like leaving it
Yeah,
that way, right? Because
yeah,
and I kind of feel like that's what it will eventually turn into.
I hope so.
Um, because also like no, like maybe if you had a buddy who like made it to the NFL, but like we're all post college, so we're probably not really going to see anyone that we
Probably not.
will we won't watch the late portions of games to see
Right.
people that we may or may not know. We'll see the first round picks who are going to get the start in the first half or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
I think, yeah, unless you're like a big fan of college football and you're rooting for a guy, that's about the only time I'm going to pay attention at the end of those preseason games. One thing I'm sorry to abruptly jump. I want to make sure we get to it at least quickly. I hope everyone is as upset with the Tennessee Titans team as I am. Uh, Apparently the news is that they're deliberately broke protocol to gather as a team this week. And that's why we're now seeing like the second wave of cases among the Titans players. And the one case or a couple cases, and they reschedule the game and move things around for the like because they had the bye week. Like I'm totally on board with that. But after seeing them break the rules, it's most likely they're just going to lose like a draft pick and get a big fine. But I think that they should have to forfeit this week. And like it sucks that the Bills get an extra win without having to play, but in my opinion, like it's if you're Roger Goodell and you want to make sure that no other team does this again, what other option do you have than to make the Titans forfeit this game and really send a message that we are taking this shit seriously?
Yeah, I think they need to set the precedents ahead of time. I think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we were talking before this and you were saying something about being a first round. I can't see them jeopardizing the future of certain teams based on that. And so it'll probably end up being like a third or fourth pick or some weird penalty there. But or I guess I would have to look at whatever happened to the Patriots. But I just I think the biggest consequence, especially for a team like the Titans who are trying to apparently get a competitive advantage over, a conference team that could be just as well in playoffs that they can.
Mm-hmm.
And so give them one loss in 1/16 of a season, unlike, other sports like baseball or basketball. Like that's huge.
It's huge.
And I don't know, because now you're right. Like now they essentially got the advantage of playing. We'll see how much it spread. I don't know, but I agree. I'd be outraged
if it turns out that these allegations are true, that they broke the safety protocols and gathered as a group, whether it was on their facility or premises or not. The only way that they're gonna stop teams from doing that again is with a serious penalty. And I think, in my opinion, it should be forfeiting the game this week. The NFL already tried to help them out so much to make sure that they just move their bye and whatnot. And that like this can't happen. Anyway, I don't want to.
No, hold up. Last thing. If they don't do that, though, they don't realize the long-term consequences of what's going to happen over the next few weeks, right? Because
right.
Okay, so say it was 2-ish games this week. Well, it was 2. Okay, now we're hinting at 3, but those 3 some of those teams still played. And so then if you're spreading again, we talked about this part, right? Like most doctors are saying it's, 3 to 7 days incubation period before you even notice it. And so
before you can test positive.
Right. And it's, I don't know. If the NFL cares about the future of this season, I agree with you. The penalty needs to be forfeit. And that way you don't have to reschedule, because the other problem that the NFL is going to have is a scheduling issue, because I already don't exactly understand how they moved the schedule, and maybe it was people lucked out in where their buys were, but no, this can't happen because there's so much money invested in this sport, right? From the fantasy side, from Vegas, from the owners, from some of the stadiums that are stupid enough to be open, right? Like there's just so much money. It'd be dumb to jeopardize it.
We'll move on after this. Just some of the factual things are they got lucky that the Titans and Steelers had not had their bye weeks yet, and they only had to move one other game that was 4 weeks down the road in order to make the schedule work out. Just want to clarify that's why they were able to do it. So later in the year, they once half the teams have had their bye, it's going to be much harder to make that happen. And before we move on, I want to clarify that I'm not saying that the Titans should forfeit for having a positive test and having an outbreak. It's for this gathering. Like getting to look, the way that the world is right now without a bubble, there's going to be positive tests. Look, that's what happened in baseball. It didn't happen in hockey or basketball because they bubbled. So it's not for getting the positive test, but it's for breaking the safety rules after the fact. Okay, so I did want to talk Niners a little bit because I mostly want to make sure, Nabil, that you apologize and that I never want to hear you say anything bad about Jimmy Garoppolo ever again.
I don't know if you read my text, but no, he's still trash. I would agree. Nick Mullins, that was going to happen regardless if it was any kind of backup. Jimmy, yes, we would have had a W there. Oh wait,
thank you. Yeah, no, we would have. We would have.
No, we would have. Sorry, I was trying to actually think. We did lose that one. That game was so boring, man. Like, I'm sorry,
it sucked.
But also, I feel bad for Wentz, right? Like, I watch him and like he's good, and there's just with all the line trouble they've had. I mean, honestly, you can also give it to their defensive, front. Like it was like a turnstile through our line. It just
Oh my
reminds me of the
gosh.
days of freaking Kaepernick and Alex Smith having to run outside
Just
of the
run for
pocket
their
all the time.
lives. Yeah.
So like, I'm not going to really blame Nick Mullins. And yes, Jimmy G would be better. It'd be nice
Thank
to
you.
get our running game again and our defense. Also, me just saying that they'd be better is like an obvious statement. Like Bethard came in and did fine. So
Yeah,
I'm not gonna apologize. He's trash.
I was happy for Bethard, and I'm gonna close out our 49ers talk with, and I'll let you respond to it, but because this is not the bold prediction that I'd come up with, but I just thought of on the spot, and I'm gonna ask it as a question. Is that the last NFL pass that Nick Mullins ever throws? Like, who gives him another shot? The pick six. Who gives him another shot?
I mean, have you seen some of the other backups in the league?
I know.
Nick Mullins has played better than I've seen some others play multiple seasons. I mean, how long was freaking Matt Schaub in the league? And wasn't there a game he threw freaking 3 pick sixes or something? Like he held right now, I think him and Tom Brady, Tom Brady, and one other name. And I want to say it was who's the Raiders quarterback again? I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. His brother.
Carr?
David Carr.
Yeah,
David
Carr.
I think it was
Carr, yeah.
David Carr, Matt Schaub, and Tom Brady were like the 2 people to throw, or 3 people to throw pick sixes in 2 consecutive games or something. So
yeah.
Okay, Nick Mullins will be around. He will not be on the Niners next year.
No, Beathard, I think, won the backup job with his performance, unless something catastrophic happens. But yeah, I don't know. Like,
we'll see.
It's 2020. It probably will. First, actually, the only match I want to recap from last week was between Travis and Devin. I just want to take a look into this because Devin, obviously the highest score of the week. Travis with the 149.62 is actually the new high score for losers this week. Travis also lost with like a 134, 136 or something earlier. Like he should be 3-1. Travis should. He's second in points, only 4 points behind Hoyt. He should be 3-1, but just ran into an absolute buzzsaw week from Devin. 38 from Dak and a big 40 burger from Kittle. What are your thoughts just looking at this matchup?
All right. I'm going to laugh a little bit because you did say it. No, and I'm looking at yours and I have it on mine as well. But you mentioned something. 4 points behind who?
First place, Ryan Hoyt.
First place who?
First place, Ryan Hoyt.
First place who?
First place, Ryan Hoyt.
All right. So let's make a little bet here. How many weeks does it take for him to drop out of playoff contention?
Hoyt, we love you,
but to him.
God, what was it last year? Like Hoyt was in first place after what, week 3 and then lost out, I think. Week 2.
Something like that.
I think I think it was week 2 or 3. But I kind of remember that Hoyt lost to everyone. like literally everyone beat Hoyt at some point during the year, but he was also in first place. And yeah, so tell your kids about first place Ryan Hoyt.
I would have to say the one thing I was thinking back to, we got to look back into these pods and see what some of our predictions and our calls were, because I already forgot what our bet was when it came down to who we thought was going to get there.
I picked Hoyt. So we said outside the top. What was it?
Top 6 or whatever.
Top 3 the undefeated teams. Like who's the most likely to win a title? And I think I went with Hoyt, and you.
I probably went with Yaggity Baggity.
Is that Drew? Yeah. You said nonsense, so I assumed it was Drew. Okay, I do want to look at this matchup though.
Yeah, sorry.
Another good performance. Yeah, another good performance from Kyler Murray. Another great performance from Dalvin Cook. Big 17 spot from Schultz, the tight end for Dallas. But you run up against almost 161 by Devin, and it's just tough. It's just real tough. But I mean, again, the 15 catches from Kittle, like that's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, dare I pull a Deshaun, or what is it? I already forgot his name. Whatever. Moving on. 40 points. You can't. It's hard to lose or beat a guy who got 40 points from a player, and even harder.
And he almost did it.
Twice.
Yeah, almost 2. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Like, what do you do?
I think the hardest part for Travis moving forward is just his running back depth, because he's riding this Davis train for now in a PPR league.
Yeah,
It's pretty
he needs to get
unstoppable.
wins.
So,
that's
these
the
are
biggest.
the times to get wins.
He
Oh, yeah.
needed to get think about like what like I'm just gonna pull up his projections because he's got 2 more weeks, right? According to current projections about when McCaffrey's coming back. So 2 more weeks of this incredible production from Mike Davis. And he needs to get wins if he wants to get back into the playoff hunt. I know he's got a ton of points, but you need wins first. No one's ever made it into the playoffs with a losing record in our league. I'm pretty sure it's never happened that 6 and 7's actually gotten in. So he needs to find at least 6 more wins before he loses 3 more. Like he's got to go. Theoretically, you got to go 6 and 3 if you're Travis down the stretch, and you only have 2 more weeks of Carolina's number 1 back. So this sucks.
He might be
for Travis.
fine. They might to reserve their future running back or the future of their franchise through their running back.
Mm-hmm.
They might go into more of a committee to kind of preserve him a bit longer. So he might be viable, but I mean, he has Montgomery. So he has some options, but yeah, this was a win he needed. He needs to capitalize on the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Bad schedule luck.
No.
Really bad schedule luck for Travis.
I'll admit, Demon's got a good team, and I already tried to make a move on Gaskin, so good luck.
Mm-hmm.
I think we hit a bit of a stalemate. I tried to send something last minute, and it is what it is. No hard feelings on any trades in these leagues.
Nope.
But no, I think Gaskin is such a good find, and that's the kind of thing. It's like we talked about this in previous weeks. Like our league is just so competitive and so good at finding the gems. Like,
oh yeah,
I showed you guys some of the bids in my other league, and I'm just saying, we're sitting there like bust down. We're gonna get to that, but like, my lord, we are spending top dollars. I actually bid all my money, and I only won one of them. But like, yeah, this is crazy. Like, 2 great teams, and yeah, Travis, you got to find a win. It's kind of like the Antonio situation.
It is. It's similar. It's a bummer because I think he's got a good squad. It's a great squad while Davis is still in there, and being second in points, it's like you want to if you're Travis, like you just got to get yourself towards that 500 mark, and you got a shot. We were talking about acquisitions. So let's take a look at the waivers that ran last night. So Scotty Miller, wide receiver, $18 for James. $0 bid for Cole Beasley, $6 bid for the New England defense. But the 2 big ones, obviously, the $45 for Justin Jackson, which was you, and the $46 bid for Ernest Johnson. Let's talk about the Jackson one first, since it's yours. Obviously, we've talked about, we can beat it at a horse. $45 is a lot more than you needed than the 17 second place bid, but you got the guy you wanted. What are you looking for out of Justin Jackson?
I need him, and this might come up a little bit later, but I need him to essentially take over the role of Eckler for the weeks that I have Eckler out, and he's more than capable. But without going too much into that, I think and you can even look just 2 people above on the transactions list. I was this was my all-in moment. I've noticed in years past, I've kind of not been aggressive enough, and while I overbid, I guess in this case by nearly $30, it kind of is what it is here, and I'm not too worried because I think it's at least depth. Because the one thing I know about this season is you just need depth. I will be honest, I am not playing him week 1. So whoever's going against him, you're not going against Justin Jackson. I need to see how he works. I either strike gold or I miss, and it's $45, but it's fab. And there's other ways I still have my money, but I think in this league, to win your running backs, you have to, especially if it's supposed to be someone who's going to step into a huge role, you're going to have to pay 30 plus easy. So, and you can see that lower down the hill, right? Or lower down the list is, last week, Brian Hill went for 22, right? Like not necessarily jumping into a lead role and still paying $20, right? So that's where I'm just trying to say, it's like when the person's worth it, you pay top dollar.
No, I get it. I mean, same thing basically was the idea bidding on D'Ernest Johnson, who, in my opinion, and it's funny to me that it's only $1 more, but just based on the work that they got last week, D'Ernest getting 13 rushes for 95 yards. Obviously, Eckler was hurt during the game last week, so you're not going to get as much, just as many touches. But I think there's a chance that Joshua Kelly ends up taking more of a role away from Justin Jackson. Like I wasn't looking to try. I just knew I probably didn't have enough. I had enough waiver dollars to go after either one of these guys, but probably wasn't going to win without just completely emptying the tank. Which is why I just kind of laid off of them. But I don't know.
I'll have more of an opinion on that towards the end today.
Yeah, I think also like the Browns are good, and like having players on good teams is a good thing. And like,
yeah,
I think the Browns are good, and I don't know that the Chargers are good, and so I kind of like the Johnson bid a little bit more than Jackson bid, but we'll find out in a few weeks.
I can't even doubt that. I put $41, and I will explain again my reasoning for why I like Justin Jackson later in the day or later in the show or whatever we call this. And yeah, I mean, I think D'Ernest Johnson, like they're just gonna run. And the one reason I am concerned is they know where their talents are, right? And he obviously rushed for, would you say 13 rushes for 90 plus yards. And so it's like
he got a healthy amount of talent.
Maybe it was the matchup. They might have already had the lead at that point. Oh yeah, it was against the Cowboys, right? So they had a huge lead against them. Mm-hmm. So naturally they're going to run. They're being conservative. Is that what they do, or do they game plan? And I was kind of right. OBJ, right? And their talent in receiving, and maybe they don't want to put all the pressure on Baker, but I don't know. We'll see. All of them have question marks. Like that is what happens on waivers. None of these were necessarily first round draft picks, so nothing is for sure even there.
Yeah. Oh, totally. I pulled it up. I want to move on to the James and Travis matchup. I know we talked about Travis a little bit already, but this one's huge. They're both projected for right about 131.5 on average between the two of them, but 131.2 is 131.8. Travis needs a win, and again, James actually got guillotined last week with the just super low performance. Left DJ Chark on the bench. Thanks a lot for doing that, James. But Ridley with no catches also was surprising. But it's a big matchup for James if he wants to try to compete for the bye, which it seems like he is doing every year. And again, for Travis to try to stay in the playoff hunt. There's a big difference between 2 and 3 and 1 and 4. Looking at the matchup, Nabil, what do you think is the biggest factor in who wins this year?
In this year or this week? If you're
just
talking about this
week between James and Travis.
I might get bold enough, and this is nothing against a fellow Lego if we're going to get some inside splatty jokes here, but I actually do think that Travis has a really strong week. Okay, you're looking against Davis going against Atlanta, so Atlanta's just hot garbage, or what was it? A hot mess inside of a garbage can on fire on a train wreck, or whatever.
Yeah, something.
Something along that line.
All those things.
That's all you need to know. And so Mike Davis will probably be running towards the end of the game, and so he's just going to get those touches. And so I think that's going to be a lot of points. So I think his projection is pretty accurate. Nothing seems out of the ordinary, maybe other than this Montgomery. And we don't know. Aren't the Patriots? Oh no, that's God. Every time I think of Tom Brady, I think Patriots. So it's like, so it's Tampa Bay. It's not the Patriots. But my biggest concern is James is really banking on Kelly getting all the work.
Yeah, he is.
And I'll talk about that later.
Sounds good. The other thing too, this is gonna sound silly, but the Bengals aren't good, and this could be one of those like really big games for Justin Tucker. Like I feel like Baltimore's gonna have the ball a lot. Like maybe it's mostly extra points, but it's a weird thing to point out. But this is one of those times where having a good kicker or defense score could be a really big way to flip. And on the flip side, Pittsburgh's defense seems to have been doing, from what I don't know if they scored. Yeah, they've scored okay. They're rested as well, and that could be on the flip side for James could be good. But I think you hit it right though that the Davis is the biggest factor. If he ends up getting 30 points just because he's getting all the touches late, then Travis has a chance to run away with this.
Like his lowest, I mean, it's only 3 weeks, but his lowest score is 15, right? Yeah. So, I mean,
right.
If you're going to fall short, falling 2 points short on someone who's projected really high is a lot better than if Davis was fluctuated between 10 and 20.
Yeah.
But otherwise, the performance there, and he's going. It's a good matchup for someone who catches out of the backfield and
totally
will likely have the game script in their favor.
Yeah. The other big potential factor for me for Travis is Kyler Murray could absolutely rip the Jets defense apart. Like Kyler Murray could very easily rush for 100 yards and throw for 200 more, and who knows how many touchdowns he'll rack up. That could just be an absolute bloodbath. The Cardinals team is good and have fallen flat the last couple of weeks, and the Jets are a perfect opportunity for them to bounce back in a big way. So that's another one I think is.
I think this is their Travis. Dick on the table game.
Yeah. Go ahead and explain the analogy, but I think I know exactly.
Yeah. You just need to unzip and just flop it. Dude, we aren't you're right. Last week, they're probably pissed. That was supposed to be in their favor. I'm looking at Kyler Murray threw for 133 yards. He did get 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is their hey, we're talked about being one of the better offenses. Let's show you how good we are. Given it's against the Jets, but if you can't do it there, people ain't going to respect you. And that's a team that is with a head coach that's new, who has this huge asset with, why can't I remember his name? Hopkins. Thank you, Lord, for giving it to me. Yeah, DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know how I forgot his name. But he needs to step up. I think the team needs to step up. And they're just not meeting expectation. That goes for, Kenny and Drake. And I know how that feels, right? They're supposed to be this. They kind of remind me of what the Browns were last year.
Right? Supposed to be good.
Everything on paper is this is a team built for success, especially on the offensive side. And we'll see. I agree.
We'll see.
That's a huge part.
Looking over to the other matchup of the matchup of the week I want to preview is first place Ryan Hoyt.
Who?
Yeah. Not only first place Ryan Hoyt, but currently traveling title belt holder Ryan Hoyt finally takes it away from Rocha. Rocha held it after beating Antonio so Rocha won weeks 1, 2.
So you're saying Orion's still holding it?
So Ryan's still holding it, but Hoyt is holding the title belt. The consecutive, the base essentially going back to the very first champion and then tracking the winners from there. It has ended up going through into the playoffs. Every champion has held at the end of year 2. Ryan Hoyt holds the title belt, which is completely made up, just like our guillotine contest. He's in first place, and he's playing against Drew Kitchen. And somehow, Drew's got a good enough team that he might win.
That's going to be just crushing if Ryan can't get this win. I mean, right? If you look at his players, right? And look, I recently made a trade for Mr. Hollywood Brown, and I think his big game is still coming. He's averaging something like a minimum of 6 targets. Yeah, they just need to get that passing game together. Lamar Jackson commented either today or yesterday about how he's disappointed in the passing game, and this is another great team to kind of get right.
Yeah,
because I just think they're going to blow up. I don't be surprised, and this is not my bold prediction, if you see Brown above 25 points.
I think that's fair. I'm nervous for Hoyt about Kamara, just because of the whole hurricane situation down in New Orleans.
Right.
They might move the game to LA. They might also, if that game ends up getting postponed, we'll count that as towards the COVID total if it's not played this week. Games not played this week, I feel like for hurricane reasons would be just as valid as games not played this week for COVID. Um, that could be it because he's projected for so much, and Kamara's been giving that high of an effort for the last 2 years, so I understand it. I mean, like look, like he scored 20.9 last week, and that was his low total for the year, like 23, 38, 44, and 20. Those are insane stats. So projecting for 25 makes sense, but I hope that the game is played. I hope that it's like there's not any like weirdness with the offense for New Orleans for Hoyt's sake. I mean, I really don't care who wins between Hoyt and Drew. I'm just saying like it'd be a bummer if that's a big reason why Hoyt doesn't score well, is because the game like last minute gets like moved to Tuesday or moved to LA or something like that.
Absolutely.
Also, did you know what the name of this hurricane is? It's coming into the Gulf. This is
Delta.
Delta. Do you know why it's called
Delta?
Hurricane Delta?
Because they ran out of names,
They
right?
ran out of names. Because they ran out of names.
Even though weather gets warm, it gets colder. So it's not really global warming.
No, they ran out of names, guys. They came up with a system to name hurricanes and tropical storms 50 years ago or whatever. They just used the alphabet, and they ran out of names because there are more hurricanes than they are used to, than the system was built for to track them.
It's
That's all
fantastic.
I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm going to
I
say
can't
about
wait
that.
till that it's going to go through the whole Greek alphabet, but then they're like, oh, we did one, so we might as well do another one. And then this next one, and I hope it's like Drew playing in on this week and he wins this week or something, but on Delta Chi, Hurricane Delta Chi. That's going to happen.
Is Drew's team picture is still what was that hurricane? Was this Irma? Would he play? Was that when he played against? Was that against Andy?
I think so.
It was Hurricane. Was it Irma or Irene? Or,
yeah, something
Ike
like that.
I don't know, but they named it.
There.
We'll have to go back. They named their teams after the two hurricanes that were.
I think you're right. I need to look this up because that was every once in a while we get like a questionable name.
Questionable, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't have to go. We'll have to go. Yeah, we'll leave it at that for now. Moving on. Last thing we have that I have on my list to talk about is the bold predictions, but I know
I do actually have one more point.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We're gonna get to here. I think we were talking about this before, and I think we both agree. This season is the first season where we have the most parity. It has to be. There's only 2 win difference between 12th place and first place. And while we can look at the points forward to see if it's really unbalanced or not, I think this is with injuries and COVID and all these question marks, this is the one year that I don't think we can just say the top 6 are the top 6. The bottom 2 are, I'm going to include myself in that, are just not going to ever get there. I think everyone has an opportunity to win. Hunter proved that and he was very vocal about it on the chat. He can pull off enough points to get a win. And so it's going to be interesting to look how this goes. Cause I don't know about you, but in other leagues, there's always that like 1-4-0. And then there's always like 2-0-4s. That's it. It's wide open, guys. Yeah. It's not over. I felt bad for losing, especially if I had to lose on a kicker versus who did he have? Whatever it was. I don't like to remember my losses, but it's still wide open.
It is. I think there are clearly there's clearly a top tier of teams still. Like I mentioned last week, I think the 3 teams at the top are. Which is Hoyt,
and Travis,
and Kevin had the best rosters, and then Travis too. But Travis has a hole to dig himself out of. But I do. I mean, all you gotta do is make the playoffs, and you have a shot in this league.
Mm-hmm.
Getting there, yes, like that parity is absolutely up in the air still. Hunter is 100 points behind, and as far as tiebreaker goes, to get into that 6th spot, but he's only 1 win behind being in last place. So there's a lot, and once you get into the game, anything can happen.
And it's still not over because I know we're only 4 weeks, but there's still 9 more, and you can those. We've seen we made jokes about it. Like we've seen losses the rest of the season from players before, and all it takes is you lose those studs to put up points. And so those tiebreakers get interesting. That's the only point I want to say is it's very interesting to look. And from like a first glance, I just feel like, wow, this can go anywhere.
Yeah. Oh, totally. The last thing then is our bold predictions. I feel like you've been really want to talk about yours, so I'm gonna make you wait. My bold prediction for this week, and we'll let you go next week. We'll let you go first next week. The Washington football team has announced that they have made a change at quarterback. Did you see this?
Yes, I did.
Dwayne Haskins is now going to be in the starting role for the Washington football team, and
not Dwayne Haskins.
Sorry, not Dwayne Haskins. Right. Haskins is Haskins is not even the backup. Oh, he's all the way to third string. The backup for the Washington football team.
Yes, say it.
Is Niners legend Alex Smith.
Fuck yeah.
The former number 1 draft pick. And I think that at some point on Sunday, Alex Smith is going to get his shot for a drive or two. And he's going to prove that he should have been the starter from the beginning. And that next week, my bold prediction, next week, Alex Smith will be the starting quarterback for the Washington football team.
I love it. This is not at all where I thought you were going when you were kind of giving me hints. And I love it. People say he looked all right during camp. I'm terrified to watch him play just because I know what happened to him before.
Wrap him in bubble wrap, man.
But it's also like the Washington football team or whatever they are. Like Kyle Allen honestly, Kyle Allen is Nick Mullins. Like you're talking about, it's like he did okay in Carolina when he was given the opportunity, and I think he'll just do okay here. Yeah, I'm excited. Good prediction, only because it's not related. I guess it is player specific, but it's like doesn't really impact fantasy. But I love it because we're Niners fans.
Yeah, it doesn't impact fantasy yet. Because once Alex Smith gets in there and turns the season around for the Washington football team, everyone's going to want a piece of him in fantasy too. I'm kidding about that part.
So I'm going to start lukewarm, and then I'm going to get to the one that I've been hinting at the most.
All right. Please. Okay,
so Dearness Johnson will score above 10 fantasy points this week.
Okay,
it's not. I'm not going to. I mean.
It's a warm take.
It's Cincy. Oh no, it's Indiana. So they're actually a pretty good run defense. But I just feel like some people, like I'm a Hunt owner, so I certainly don't want this. But I think a lot of people are hot and cold on whether he will be good enough. I think he definitely looked like he had burst. He'll just end with 10. I think he's playable this week.
Double-digit points. Okay.
Yeah, so nothing crazy on that one. And now to go more into my point about what you were saying about Joshua Kelly versus Justin Jackson, who's going to be my next prediction.
Okay.
So Joshua Kelly walked in, or he didn't walk in, but he pretty much assumed the role of Melvin Gordon.
Okay.
Austin Eckler, while being a lead back, pretty much still played the Austin Eckler role of a pass catching back. They don't necessarily want to
mix it up guy.
Yeah, they don't want to be A and B, because if you see one person, it's going to be a run. If you see, or if A is Joshua Kelly, he's going to run. If you see Austin Eckler, he's going to pass, right? So they do need to mix it up. And so they did that a little bit.
You can't be that predictable where only one back runs and only one back is in pass pro or running routes. Yes. Yeah.
You were kind of looking at it here, and we're seeing that, okay, he didn't have that many touches over the last 4 games, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that is because he was essentially the Eckler backup, right?
Gotcha.
He isn't necessarily a Melvin Gordon. I think his skill sets are much better for like stepping into Eckler's role than Joshua Kelly's is. He's kind of the ground and pound. So my prediction, your bold prediction. Maybe it's not that bold, but Justin Jackson will end with more fantasy points than Joshua Kelly this week. And I would say that he has the possibility of putting up the production of Eckler. So I will actually say 15 plus points from Justin Jackson.
Wow.
And this is even me not playing him.
Okay.
But I
The bold,
think a lot of people
prediction.
are saying,
Yeah.
I know it's
We're going out on a limb.
We're
going out on a limb. Yeah.
But I honestly feel from what I've seen and kind of over the last, was it 2 years or 3 years he's been in the system or for the Chargers, is that he has kind of been another Eckler. And so just don't
sleep
that's
on
why
him.
I bid more for him than Dearness Johnson, because I don't know if the Browns are going to change up their game plan. And I guess I could say the same for the Chargers. However, if anyone's going to catch the ball, Justin Jackson is a better pass catcher than Joshua Kelly. So we'll see. I could be wrong. They're not super bold. I don't have numbers like last time.
No, you're good.
I can't sit there and put anyone in the 20s. But I want to say that both people who spent 40 plus for their, waivers, I think are going to be happy with the results that they see.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I should point out that you absolutely crushed your OBJ has a big game prediction. I think he actually got 3 touchdowns instead of the 2 you predicted, but one was on the ground. But yeah, what a game from Odell. And I know you couldn't turn that into a win, which is always a bummer. But geez, you nailed your prediction last week.
I am actually, what I'm trying to do really quickly is I want to see for week 4, I said he was going to be top 5 wide receiver.
He probably was. Let's take a look. You actually mentioned, it's hard to lose when you score 40 points, and he had 38.4.
Yeah, well, see, that's why.
You said it. So
if I had 40.
Let's pull it up.
He was the top scoring wide receiver.
He might have been the top scoring player except for Kittle. Except for Kittle, that's my guess.
That's not top scorer.
Let's go last.
I already have it. It was Mixon and Kittle and then Odell.
I'm pulling it up here just so the kids at home can see. Filter.
Followed by Green Bay legend
all players.
Robert Tonyan. Or Tonyan.
So yeah, last week's top score: Joe Mixon, George Kittle, Odell Beckham. So the top receiver and number 3 overall.
I promise I'll get hotter again soon, but yeah. I gotta be cool for this one because I can't blow my my streak that I've been on. So
yeah. All right. I think that's all we had to talk about. There's not, unless you got anything else that you wanted to add before we let them go, Nabil.
I don't. Good luck, everyone. I kind of hope we have another upset week just so that we can get more parity than before. But other than that, sorry for a long listen. I'm sure we rambled a little bit more than last week.
It felt like we did, but it also didn't. To me, it didn't feel like we were dragging on. I mean, like, I don't feel tired or anything. Like, so hopefully that
you're riding that high of the A's win. So
I am, dude. That game sucked. It was. I gave me an ulcer. It's so much better to come out with a win though than a loss after all that.
I feel you. Well, either way, wish you luck. Stay healthy.
Yeah, thanks everybody, and we'll talk again soon. I really need to work on knowing exactly where to go to stop the recording. I found it. Bye.